Okay, I'm going to try to demonstrate how I align pictures from my solar eclipse in 2017 so that pictures will all be in approximately the same position for each shot when I put them together for a video. I have Adobe Photoshop CS2 open, and I also use XNView for viewing the photographs, and these are the photographs that I'll be using. And pay particular attention to file names. Normally what I do is I'll take each one of these in sequence and use the same file name so that their numbers are falling in, so when I line them up in the video they will be in numerical order. But for this demonstration I am not going to take them one by one because it would take too long. I'm just going to do about 2 or 3 of them just to show you how I line them up. Okay, we're going to minimize that. First thing we do is I do File, New, and I have the width and the height of the template I'm going to make the same size as my pictures. So I'm going to title this template Solar, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit by holding down the left key and just open it up so you can see the size is the picture size that I'll be using. Now I need to turn the background color to black. So I come up here to the icons, and this is the one that will have paint bucket. So I right click to fly it out, and I left click to select the paint bucket. And this is the colors, so I want to make sure it's black, so I've already set that to black. So I've done that, so I'll say cancel. Now I'm just click inside this picture frame and it turns black. The next thing I do, I'm going to select the move tool, and I'm going to come up here and stay on the ruler when I pull down the guides. Now you notice that this guide is the picture is 31.5 by 23 and say 3/4. So I'm going to put a guide right near the center of this. So I come up here, I click on the ruler with my left and hold it down, and I drag the guide down, and I'm going to do half of 23.5, which is about 11 3/4 just past. I'm going to do the same thing with the right, the vertical, and I'm going to come up to 15 3/4 is halfway. So now that I have my center of my frame to center up my object, I need to open up my first picture. I go in here, I open up the XNView, I click on one of the suns, I'm going to right click and say open with Photoshop. Say yes, and there's the picture. Now I'm going to move it to the side a little bit, and using my move tool I'm going to click on the picture, hold down my left mouse, drag and drop. So I go back to the original picture I just brought in, and I close it because I'm through with it for now. Now this picture can be moved by holding down my left mouse button and dragging it to approximately the center. That looks good. Now the other thing I do is I'm going to create tangent points vertically and horizontally of this. So I come up here to the guides again, I'll hold down my left button, bring it down with a guide. Go get another one, bring it all the way down. Get the vertical ones, bring it all the way over. Get another one. Now, this shows the boundaries of what my suns need to fall in. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to lock this. I'm going to do a File, save, because we've already saved it. No, we hadn't saved it. We're going to do a file save, and we're going to call it template solar. And I'm going to do save. And I'm leaving it in the Photoshop format. Now, next thing I do is we're going to go back to X and View and get another picture. Let's get one that has a bite bit out of it. Let's get this one right here, which is number 15. There again, click on it, right click, open with Adobe Photoshop, say yes. And here it is. I'll move it over to the side a little bit, and I'll do like before. Left click, hold down, drag and drop. Close it out. And now I have it. Now we're going to move it to about the center. Now these pictures do not have a sharp edge, so it's kind of hard to see sometimes. Now I'm going to come over here under the opacity, and I'm going to change it a little bit so we can see through the picture. We can see the sun behind it. I'm going to click the eyeball here just to turn it on and off, and see that I don't have much movement at all in the tangent point. So I did pretty good on that one, getting it pretty much in the center. Like that. So now we're going to do the opacity again, take it back up to 100%. I'm going to cut off layer 1. And you notice these lines right here, these are the boundary of the picture I just brought in. Now you can see why I do the black background first, so it's the same. Now I'm going to do a file, save as, and this time, since I'm going to use that photograph for my movie, I'm going to change it to a JPEG. And the file name was 15, so we're going to say 0015. Do save. Okay. Now the other thing I do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to open that file, because there's something we got to do. We got to cut off the grids. So we'll go to View, Clear Guidelines, close it. We want to save the change, and we're done with that. I'm going to cut on that layer 1 again. I'm going to right click on the active layer number 2, and I'm going to say delete layer, and we say yes. Now let's move on to another picture. I'm going to go File. No, we'll go here to the, and I'm going to scroll down to another picture, one that's got more of a bite. Let's pick that one. It's way off center. Right click, open with Adobe Photoshop. Say yes. Now we'll move this one over. Again, left click, drag and drop. Close that out. Now you notice that the backgrounds are not the same. I'm going to have to change the background or enhance on it. So I go up to Image, Adjustments, Curves. I'm going to come over here and I want to try to get the background to match. That looks pretty good. I'll say OK. We can now move it to about the center, but as you notice that this frame is smaller than the original picture that I started with. No problem. We're going to stretch it open, and we're going to do it where the ratios are the same. So we're going to hold down the Shift key, put our cursor on the corner of the picture nodes, and we're going to hold down with our left key, drag it until we get about a good size picture that matches and falls within our grid. That's all I'm doing, is just dragging it with the Shift key and the mouse to get it about the same size as what's underneath it. Now that looks pretty close, and we can notice I can't cut it on and off because now I need to go up here to the Move tool and hit it and say Apply the transformation, because we stretched it. Now we turn it on and off, and what I'm looking for is any movement along here that is really bad, and it really looks like I got that pretty good. You can also move it with your arrow keys. You can move it up and down, or this way or that way. It moves 1 pixel at a time. I think I cut it off. There we go, showing it move. Okay, check it again. Looks pretty good. Now the other thing that I didn't do, I'm going to pull it over to the side and do it. Let's cut on the opacity. I want it to match. I should have done this when it was little, because now I can't see it too well, but I want to get the colors about the same. So I'm going to go up here to Image, Adjustments, I'm going to get on the hue. And I'm going to do the hue a little bit. I think that's about the color of the other picture. I'm going to say OK. And I guess what we could do is this. We could just take the opacity back up, move it off to the side, and still do it. See, I got about, now it's close, but it could be a little more orange. Adjustments, hue saturation. Oh, that looks pretty good there, right there. I'll say OK. Move it back. Check it again. Looks pretty good in the same spot. Alright. Both at 100%. And you see I got the black the same, so that is the way I do it. And then we do a File, Save As. And we're going to do it a JPEG. And well, I forgot the number. Very important you remember the number in the sequence. I think it's 0037. And do save. Okay. So now we're going to open it back up. And you see you don't see the grids here, but they're there. And we got the grids are on. So we need to shut those off if we're going to pull it in our picture, our movie. Clear guides. Close it. Say yes, save it, and we're done. So that's how I do it. And I'll delete that layer. And then I'll do another one. Let's do another one. One more. Let's open this up. Let's come down here and get a thin one. Let's do this one. Open with Adobe Photoshop. Say yes. And here it is. Now, again, drag and drop. Close the original. And this one we got to match the correct the background. Adjustments. Curves. Looks pretty good right here. We're not worried about this because this moon, I mean the sun is different here. So I'm going to say OK on that. And it looks a little too red, so we're going to go Image, Hue Saturation. I want it a little more orange. That looks good. Do that, OK. Now we're going to move it over. Now we got to stretch it. So you hear again, you go down the Shift key, click on the corner, and you drag it up. And probably try to position it somewhere that it will be all right. Now I probably need to go ahead. There we go. Now you can see it gets a little more difficult when you start getting down the little slivers. Okay, the eyeball won't work unless I do this. Apply. Let's see where we are. And this is a little too far down, so we probably need to stretch it inward some. looks like we've moved it, but it's proportionally being adjusted. Alright, here again we got to say apply. Now we need to move it over a little bit. I do believe. We'll try it again. Oh, for some reason it says. Alright. I believe it needs to come down a little bit. It still might be a little big. Apply. Move it over a little bit. Oops. It happens when you hit it and you're still on the eyeball. So we're gonna I'm doing something here. That's basically how I do it. Make it active. I don't see much movement at all. So that's probably about it. We're going to let it stay. Take the opacity back up. And we got the black background going good. And we do File, Save As, and I forgot the number. That's why it's important to remember the numbers. What was that number? 84? Alright, we'll give it 84. The reason I know it's 84, if you look here when I open this up, it's still highlighted. So I was able to get the number that way. And now we've saved it. Now we do an open up. I left a 7 on, but we'll open it up. Do view, clear guides, close it, and yes. So there you have it. That's how I do it. Delete layer, say yes. And that's how I line them all up.